It's time to remember that. You remember. With Kyle Sandell.
Presented by Matt Larson, Farm Bureau agent located downtown Midland. The NBA Finals continues tonight, and then shortly after, the NBA Draft will take place, and then we're right into the NBA offseason. And for the first time in several years, not only will the Pistons not have a lottery pick, but they won't even be picking in the first round. Their pick is headed to Minnesota, and after that, finally, Detroit has the ability to trade their picks going forward because there's no protections. Now, I know there's all this talk, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, these big trades. Now, I don't think most locked-in Pistons fans want any of those big trades to happen because you see in the current NBA, building with your core is the way to achieve sustained success. But nonetheless, that doesn't make this offseason any easier for Detroit, as they have the option to give the rookie extensions to both Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. Now, they don't have to do it this offseason, but if they choose not to, then both of those guys will hit restricted free agency a year from now, where any team can throw out a max contract at either of those guys, and the Pistons will be given the option to match or to let them go. So how much do you see Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren in this future core of the Pistons? Can those guys contribute alongside Cade Cunningham and Asar Thompson to be a championship caliber team? It's a question that a lot of Pistons hope the answer is yes to, but the front office may have to answer that question themselves this offseason before paying both Ivey and Duren. Remember that. Presented by Matt Larson, Farm Bureau agent located downtown Midland.
Fueled by wonder and powered by science. At Dow, we're imagining better things for our customers and communities. It starts with our commitment to reach carbon neutrality by 2050. Designing, building, and inspiring for the world around us. Because when we wonder, the things our world needs could be just one breakthrough away. That's Dow.
Transform your outdoor space with Maple Hill Nursery. Whether you're a gardening enthusiast or just looking to relax in style, they have everything you need. From premium polywood furniture that never needs painting to top quality plants and trees, Maple Hill Nursery has it all. Plus, they offer free setup and delivery on in-stock barbecue grills. Visit them today just north of Midland Mall or check out their website for pro tips and expert advice. Maple Hill Nursery, making your yard the place to be.
Local sports don't stop when the game ends, and neither do we. 100.9 The Mitt is your digital home for the latest news across the state of Michigan. From high school to college and the pros, it's all on our socials. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search 100.9 The Mitt and join the squad. Stay locked in on the latest stats and stories with exclusive video takes from local talent. Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. From the Blazy Electric Studios, this is Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. WLUN, Pinconning Bay City, Saginaw, Midland. Michigan sports aren't just a game, they're a way of life. And now we've got a show dedicated to die-hard sports fans like you. Hosted by a guy who's borderline obsessed with the wins and losses of all your favorite teams.
He's crazy.
Every weekday morning from 9 to noon, Ben Bosscher brings you the talk that matters. The teams, the stories, and the players you care about most. This is the Ben Bosscher Show. Appointment radio across the state.
Remember that.
Hello, and happy Wednesday, Great Lakes Bay region. Happy Wednesday, everyone tuning in on YouTube. Hope everyone's having a good start to the day, man. I am excited for today's show, to say the least. We got Scott Harris comments earlier this morning. We've got an Aidan Hutchinson conversation to be had, and we've got a fun around the league coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, in addition to something I'm excited for later on this month. Kyle Sandell, our producer, as always. You doing all right this morning? Because I'm not going to lie, I woke up a little bit angry today. I did.
Ooh, angry.
I did.
Pretty rare you wake up angry.
I had a dream last night that we got to the MLB trade deadline, and for some reason, Scott Harris decided to trade Parker Meadows. And I woke up fuming. It's like, what is going on? They're 20 games above 500 right now. Why would they sell on this future Gold Glove Hall of Famer. And I woke up and was like just genuinely mad until I got in the car and started driving to work. And then I think I mentioned this to you off air. Wisconsin Timber Rattlers in town taking on the Loons this week. That song that's been stuck in my head by T-Pain for the last 24 hours, the one Wisconsin. Yeah. I'll take you to a mansion somewhere up in Wisconsin. That song's been stuck in my head, so I played that, and by the time I got here to work today, this morning, yeah, I was all good. I
thought you were doing a bit at first.
I was not.
About like how Scott Harris didn't do anything at the deadline, but as soon as you said he traded Parker Meadows, it's like, okay, that's actually a real dream. Very random.
Do you ever get the dreams where you wake up genuinely angry or scared? Sometimes that ends up being the way to go.
Yeah, I'll wake up and have dreams where like I thought it was real life, and it takes you a couple seconds to realize like, oh, that was not real. Mm-hmm. But angry, I can't remember the last time I woke up and the first thought of my mind was anger.
It's like, damn it, Scott, you just had to get rid of him. I was having PTSD, to be honest, because it felt real, It was still early on in the morning. But hey, we're all good now, and there's no reason to be angry with the Tigers. With the 44-24 record after last night, they are 20 games over 500 for the first time since 2013. But that's not all. Not only are they 20 games above 500 right now, they have the fourth easiest schedule remaining in baseball. And that's strictly based on win percentage. That can change here in the next couple of days and couple of weeks. Teams can get hot, teams can get cold, and you end up playing a team that's, fresh off of winning 4 of their last 5 series. Like, all that can still happen. But when you just look on paper at their schedule, not only is there a chance for them to continue to grow this lead in the AL Central that is 8 games right now over the second-place Twins, you look at their schedule compared to everyone else in the AL Central schedule, the poor White Sox have the hardest schedule remaining in baseball. There's a chance the Tigers can do something pretty crazy here and truly eclipse 100 wins. I don't think that's the expectation. I don't think that should determine whether or not they get 100 wins, what you think that this team's capable of doing in the postseason. But just to put it into perspective, I think it's nuts that is now what is on the table for the Tigers sitting 20 games over 500, Kyle. It's blowing my mind every single day. We were worried about the offense. We can get into that a little bit later on in the show. And they came alive again last night. Torkelson, 16th home run of the year.
And more importantly for you, and for the people that maybe were backing you, lock of the day hit with that home run, the 2+ bases.
Lock of the day, back on track. We're 1-1 on the week. I'm feeling good about our lock coming up at the end of today's show. But yeah,
Tigers baseball, man. Great time to be alive.
And not only did Torkelson come through in a big way, hit a home run, but it's that bottom of the lineup. When they are hitting, when they're on, it feels like the Tigers are unstoppable. Your boy Javier Bays.
2 triples for Zach McKinstry.
2 triples for Zach McKinstry. Your boy Javier Bays made an appearance last night.
Oh, that's my boy right there. That's Javier Bays.
That's right. Javier Bays ends up getting an RBI in yesterday's game. Wenzel Perez hitting at the bottom of the lineup. Ended up getting an RBI. It was a weird lineup card when they threw it out there. Now that Ibanez and Jahen are both not on this roster, you're leading off with guys that you're unfamiliar with, guys that kind of
Jahmai Jones.
Yeah, that guy that just got added to the roster here in the last week or so. So it's a weird sight, but we're getting closer and closer to the point where the Tigers are maximizing their roster with Cole Keith maybe playing third base, with Matt Vierling still getting worked back into things, obviously still on IL for right now. The pitching staff getting a little bit more healthy, and who knows what they're going to do at the deadline. We got some updates from Scott Harris earlier this morning, and I want to go through some of that later on in the show. But before we do that, I got to address something that was in our news segment yesterday, but I think is more important to bring up in depth today. TJ Watt is holding out of camp. How does that relate to the teams you care about, the Lions? Well, I just ruined it. I just ruined the bit. I'm going to do it anyway. I've got 2 players right here. I totally butchered this. I totally butchered this. This is, now that awesome. Whatever. I've got 2 players right here. Player A, player B. I'm going to read you their stats blind. You ever play this game? See it on
Yeah,
on
sure.
the old
I'll act
Instagram?
like I've not been listening for the last 60 seconds.
Player A, the last 10 games that they have played, 13.5 sacks, 34 QB hits, 3 passes defended, have played 86.5% of their team's defensive snaps, and 79 pressures. Player B in their last 10 games, 7 sacks, 15 QB hits, 2 passes defended, only played in 82.8% of their team's defensive snaps and has just 52 pressures. You want to go ahead and guess what players those are, A and B?
I would assume that it is Aidan Hutchinson and TJ Watt.
Do you know which one is Aidan Hutchinson?
Likely player A?
Player A. 6.5 more sacks, just about 19 more QB hits, another pass defended, plays 4% of his team's snaps over TJ Watt, and has about 27 more pressures in their last 10 games played. Is that a small sample size? A little bit, but for Aidan Hutchinson, you got to take the first 5 games and then the last 5 games from 2024. And then for TJ Watt, you just take the last 10 games from last season. Look, the reason I bring this up is because TJ Watt is holding out of minicamp, which means the Steelers got their backs pressed against the wall, and there's a little bit of urgency to get this guy his new contract because obviously you want your star players at mandatory minicamp. They hold out, it causes drama. It ends up in stories. It ends up in headlines. You don't want that. You want to try to avoid that, especially a team like the Steelers. So now I think they're bumping it up to level 9 urgency to try to get this TJ Watt extension done. And if TJ Watt extension gets done before the Aidan Hutchinson contract gets done, if I'm Aidan Hutchinson's agent, I'm showing Brad Holmes the exact clip I just made and saying, hey, Aidan Hutchinson in the last 10 games has outproduced TJ Watt in every way, shape, and form. Why would he not be getting paid more than TJ Watt? Whereas if you do exactly what you did with Amon-Ra St. Brown and you make him the highest paid edge in the league, or with Amon-Ra's case, the highest paid receiver in the league, and then you let the market do its job and correct itself, you are going to save money in the long run. Because to remind everyone, 2 off seasons ago, Amon-Ra St. Brown did become the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. You know how many wide receivers are being paid more money than him now, Kyle?
At least 3 or 4.
5.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, which is a joke, A.J. Brown, all getting paid more than Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that was just 2 off seasons ago. If I'm the Lions, I am making Aidan Hutchinson, I don't care about the injury, I don't care about the recovery from it, I am making him the highest paid edge in the league and saying everyone else, and when I say everyone, I mean the Steelers with TJ Watt, the Cowboys with Micah Parsons, Myles Garrett already got his extension, whoever ends up giving Trey Hendrickson this deal. I'm saying everyone else, you got to match us. You guys can continue to make the market go up. We'll do it now. We'll jump ahead of it and save money in the long run. Because if the Lions decide to wait and TJ Watt ends up getting the Myles Garrett contract or even more, guess what? Aidan Hutchinson's going to demand even more than that, because you just heard me compare their stats. Aidan Hutchinson blows TJ Watt out of the water when you just read their stats straight up. He plays more. He's more versatile. He's getting more pressures. He's getting after the quarterback a lot more. Yes, I'm aware Aidan Hutchinson went against a bunch of those backup tackles last season, but what do you think? When he goes against the starter, he's just not going to produce? No, I believe in Aidan Hutchinson more than any other player on the Lions to be able to recover from an injury as traumatic as the one that he had last week against Dallas in Week 5. There was rumors he was going to be able to play in the Super Bowl. That makes me think he is 100% going to be ready to go by the time training camp and Week 1 rolls around. I don't see a reason why the Lions would not make Aidan Hutchinson the highest paid edge rusher in the NFL as soon as humanly possible. I get it. The injury thing is there. I don't trust anybody more than I trust Aidan Hutchinson to rehab, to get back to not only being 100%, but an even better version of himself. Because unlike all these other guys that are holding out and not at mandatory minicamp, Aidan Hutchinson's showing up for voluntary workouts, OTAs. He doesn't have to be there, but he's been there in the facility each and every day, rehabbing, getting better, trying to get back to the peak form that he was at the beginning of last year. I'm banking on him to continue developing nobody develops in a linear way. This is obviously going to cause somewhat of a setback, but I'm banking on 4 years from now, 5 years from now, him still being the best edge in the NFL or something very close to that. So if that's the case, pay him now, save yourself money in the long run. Do not let the Steelers or the Cowboys beat you to the punch in terms of paying their superstar edge rusher.
Well, especially when it comes to the age factor, too, of TJ Watt versus Aidan Hutchinson. If Hutchinson sees Watt get big money, which he likely will, right? I mean, the Steelers have always caved in to TJ Watt, and I don't see why that would change now. They did give out the big contract to DK, but they got Aaron Rodgers on a pretty cheap deal. So they're likely going to cave in and pay TJ Watt. Why would Aidan Hutchinson not demand a solid amount more than TJ Watt as going into his third year in the NFL? You know, I think you could still say that TJ Watt is a better player than Hutchinson. I know you just laid it all out and everything. It is a small sample size, to be fair. But the fact that the age comes into play makes Hutchinson worth more on the open market.
Yep.
So it's interesting with the injury. I do think that it would be nice to get a for sure that he's 100%, which they probably do have that. It obviously plays a factor here. I'm not going to ignore the fact that he's coming off of a broken leg. But I agree with you in the fact that they need to get out in front of this, especially because they've done it in the past with St. Brown, with Sewell, and with Jared Goff.
Let's hear what the people think. 989-837-6125. Let us know what you think. Would you make Aidan Hutchinson the highest paid edge in the league and try to beat the Steelers and beat the Cowboys to the race here? I think it's one of the most important things for the Lions to do this offseason. I think it's the single most important thing left for the Lions to do this offseason. They addressed what they needed to do in the draft. They bulked up their defensive line. They replaced Frank Ragnow before we even realized they replaced Frank Ragnow. They got another weapon for the long term in Isaac Tesla. Now the last thing to do is clearly give Aidan Hutchinson this extension. They don't have to do that with Jameson Williams, right? Both first-round picks from 2022. You don't got to do that with Jameson Williams. He's got to still go earn it. He's got to show he can be on the field for 17 straight games. And I know not everything is his fault. I think individually each of the suspensions or injuries, fluky. But at the end of the day, you got to play. You do not have to give Jameson Williams the contract extension right now. You got another couple seasons to mess around with that. With Hutchinson, you are in a race. You are in a race to beat the Steelers because whoever loses that race is going to end up paying a little bit more money. 989-837-6125. We'll get to some Mitt messages and what's going on in the YouTube chat. If you haven't subscribed to that already, hey, you're missing out because you've got to see all these cool graphics that we got going that Kyle makes as the show is going on, and you get to see our pretty faces. 989-837-6125. It's a Wednesday. I'm having a ton of fun. I'm excited for today's show. We've still got the Scott Harris comments to get to. And, of course, now that it is the summer months, you got to stay up to date on all your locally owned Ace Hardware and Sports goods. Locally owned and proudly family operated right here in the heart of Midland. Take advantage of $3 off Ortho Weed Killer, proven power to take your yard back. Or go bigger with $10 off Spruce Weed and Grass Killer. Tough on weeds, easy on your wallet. Visit them on East Main Street in downtown Midland, right where your local service meets big-time savings. Supporting your yard and your community all in one stop. Plus, while you're there, get a donut. They're delicious. When we come back, more on Aidan Hutchinson and the comments Scott Harris made this morning. It's all coming up here on the Ben Bosscher Show, 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
At First Class Epoxy Floor and Counter, floors don't just get coated, they get a makeover. Epoxy's so tough, it shrugs off spills, stains, and even your wildest dance moves. Garages, workshops, anywhere you want a floor that's smooth, shiny, and just a little bit sassy, they handle it all with style. No more boring floors. Get ready to impress everyone who walks through the door. Slide into durability and flair. First Class Epoxy Floor and Counter, where your floors get the VIP treatment they didn't know they needed.
Hi, this is Jim Mahoney with Link Technologies. If you are a business or a nonprofit organization wondering how to navigate today's technologies landscape, let Link Technologies' talented staff work with you to develop a technology plan custom to your specific needs. We bring 27 years of experience helping businesses and nonprofit organizations just like yours achieve their technology goals. Contact us today and see how the right balance between cloud and on-premise resources can best work for you.
Celebrate Father's Day at Downtime and Sunday, June 15th. It starts with the Play Ball Weekend Kids Clinic presented by Central Michigan University. Make sure they're pre-registered at loons.com. After the game, step on the field for a special Father's Day catch, a memory that will last a lifetime. There's something for the whole family this Father's Day. This isn't just baseball. This is the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team.
At the Great Lakes Loons, our commitment to community goes beyond the ballpark. Through the Volunteer program, Loon staff and even players roll up their sleeves to serve the Great Lakes Bay region. From packing food boxes to reading in classrooms and even cleaning up local camps and parks, it's hands-on work that helps build a stronger, more connected community. Volunteer isn't just what we do, it's who we are. Because being part of this region means showing up when it counts. The Great Lakes Loons, serving the Great Lakes Bay region since 2007.
I'm Ben Bosscher, and here's what I think. I think replay should be taken out of basketball entirely. I think 2 super conferences would fix college football. I think the best football, basketball, and baseball players of all time are currently playing. I think the day the Lions win the Super Bowl is going to be the greatest day of my life. I think Monty Williams sabotaged the Pistons on purpose, and you can't convince me otherwise. I think Jim Harbaugh is one of the best coaches of all time, but most definitely cheated, got caught, and ran away. And I think you should tune into the Ben Bosscher Show, fueled by Forward Energy, weekdays 9 to noon on 100.9 The Mitt if you agree with anything I just said.
The love of the game draws us to sports, as players, coaches, spectators, and officials. For officials, it's a way to stay in the game they once played, to feel the thrill of putting on the uniform, stepping out of the playing surface, hustling to make the call, and building the relationships which can only be built in sports. If you still have that love for the game, we always need new officials. Register now at MHSAA.com. A message from the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Welcome back into the Ben Bosscher Show. It's a Wednesday. I'm having fun. Kyle's having fun, and we are cruising here, trying to figure out whether or not everyone thinks it's worth it to give Aidan Hutchinson the bag, right? Everyone, yes, Sarah, we're talking about Aidan Hutchinson. Everyone, I think Aidan Hutchinson needs to be the highest paid edge in the league tomorrow. I don't really care that he's coming off of the injury, because if they're unable to do it before the Steelers give TJ Watt their extension, which is going to happen soon because he's holding out of minicamp, then they're going to end up overpaying is not the right word, but paying more than they necessarily have to if they wait and let TJ Watt beat them to the punch. So I want to hear from everyone else. 989-837 6125, whether or not you think Aidan Hutchinson should be the highest paid edge in the league. Looking at the YouTube chat, you mentioned Hendrickson. Lions should go trade for him. Yeah. I mean,
about guys that aren't going to get paid.
Dude, that story, we'll get to that story when we do our Around the League in the 10 o'clock hour. Oh my God, man. The Bengals are such a joke. They are so lucky that they drafted who they drafted the last few years, because what a mess.
Are they?
I don't know, man. They're like secret.
It might have caused more issues.
I'm gonna save my
right
my thing for that. For
I just will say, like,
that's a joke.
It's worth
of a situation.
noting you're not in a race with Trey Hendrickson contract extension. That's for sure.
No, I don't think he's playing another game for the Bengals. I think it's Steelers, and I think it's secretly the Cowboys as well, because they could also, out of the blue, give Micah Parsons an extension. What's stopping them?
Oh, I thought you were talking about trading for Hendrickson.
No. I'm talking about in terms of
they
being
definitely
the first guy
Micah,
to the market.
Right? Yeah.
TJ Watt's the one that's kind of in the public eye right now because he's holding on a minicamp. But Micah Parsons could get a contract extension tomorrow. And if that's the case, then Aidan Hutchinson's in some big problem. Not Aidan Hutchinson. Aidan Hutchinson's probably going to love that. But the Lions are in a little.
For him.
Right. The Lions would be in a little bit of trouble because, Aidan Hutchinson's going to demand a little bit more than Micah Parsons, even though Micah Parsons, you could argue, is a better player at the end of the day, a little bit more versatile. But that's just not how it works, right? It's who's next in line to get paid at that position, which superstar hits the market next. And right now, Hutchinson's on the market, TJ Watt is on the market, Micah Parsons is on the market. Which one of those guys is going to break the bank and be the first one to the table? And let's be honest, the Lions could have done this earlier this offseason. Myles Garrett already got paid, right? Myles Garrett already got his contract. If you would have beat Myles Garrett to it, guess what? You would have saved even more money. But the Lions decided to wait for whatever reason that may be.
Do you think there's a world where Hutchinson's camp wants to wait? Where maybe the Lions are not willing to give as much as maybe they would have if he didn't get injured, so they want Hutchinson to return healthy and prove things?
I think at the end of the day, you want your contract before this year starts. I don't think you want to go into the season without a new contract because
on like a prove it type thing. Yeah,
it's the NFL, man. You got to go get your guaranteed money, which is why I think the Lions should slap the money right on the table right now and say, "Here you go, man. be the highest paid edge in the league. Worth it? I think so.
I know the whole trust Brad Holmes thing is pretty cliche, and you talk about it a lot. But this is one of those situations where I trust Brad Holmes. I
trust it's going to get figured out at some point.
Right, but you want it to get figured out before TJ Watt does.
Yes. Because if TJ Watt gets this extension, and then the Lions are sitting there like twiddling their thumbs, Brad Holmes is like, well, now
TJ Watt will get the extension, too.
I know.
That's the part about it.
Yes, unless they do what Colin Cowherd thinks he should do and trade him to wherever and, whatever. That was hilarious, by the way, yesterday. I got a point. In the Guess the Collins.
You did get
Open.
a point, yes. It's
Finally.
2-1. It's 2-1.
Thank you. Come back.
He basically was calling TJ Watt overrated.
Hey, based on these stats I just read you want me to read them again?
Go for it.
7 sacks in the last 10 games for TJ Watt, 15 QB hits, 52 pressures, 82.8% of defensive snaps. That's TJ Watt's last 10 games. Holy crap. Aidan Hutchinson's last 10 games, 13.5 sacks, 34 QB hits, 3 passes defended, 86% of the team's defensive snaps, and 79 pressures. Maybe Colin's onto something. I don't think TJ Watt's overrated, to be very clear. Comes up in very timely situations when the game's on the line in the fourth quarter. But Hutchinson is outproducing him right now. And you have a chance to make Hutchinson a lower valued player contract-wise than TJ Watt. All you have to do is give him that extension as soon as possible. 989-837-6125. Let's hit the news.
The Mitt's Morning Catch.
All right, let's see what we got cooking in the news today.
I feel like there's going to be a lot for some reason. I feel like just a lot of things are happening in the news world of sports.
I have a pretty good amount of stuff today. I feel like yesterday I kind of struggled to throw things together. I got a pretty good amount of stuff on the news today, so this could be a bit long.
Let's do it.
But let's start off. Obviously, last night, the Tigers beat the Orioles 5-3. 20 games above 500 now is Detroit. First time since 2013, Ben. We were talking about that team yesterday. That's probably the best version of the Tigers teams throughout the 2010s.
The 23rd, yeah, because you had V-Mart, you had Torrey Hunter in there. The offense was just unstoppable,
Much
basically.
improved Peralta year.
And
everybody was peaking, basically.
And it feels like this year's Tigers team has a pretty good chance to have a better record by the time the 162 games are done.
Yeah, absolutely. But 28 games over at this point in the season, and every other team in the division as well, just continuing to lose. Cleveland has really fallen off ever since they got 3 of 4 from the Tigers.
Yeah.
So things are looking good.
And Twins were like red hot for a while there. They like simply weren't losing games, but
yeah, they won like 13
paced
straight
back
at
to
one point.
I know. Paced back to reality. That 2013 Tigers team finished with 93 wins. I believe the Tigers are on pace right now for 104. It's crazy, man.
It's a pretty good amount more.
It's surreal.
Let's move on to some Pistons news. We found out last night that Detroit is set to play the Dallas Mavericks in Mexico City on November 1st at the beginning of the NBA season. We saw this a few years back with the Blake Griffin Pistons team, I think like 2019, 2020. And they're going back.
That Blake Griffin played in Mexico when he was a Piston?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was the same matchup. It was Pistons Mavs. Because remember, there's that funny clip of Luka speaking Spanish to the whole crowd, and then Blake just comes on and goes, "Hola,
hola." Yeah, I do remember that.
Was it.
You think there's no one on the Pistons that speaks Spanish, right? I don't think so. We got a couple guys who speak in a couple different languages. Maybe. I don't know.
I also don't know.
Hey, that'll be fun.
More
though.
NBA stuff though. What'd you say?
I said that'll be fun. A game in New Mexico or Mexico City.
They've had a good amount of games there since like 2010, so they try to host at least 1 or 2 there every year. So
I think it's only the 3rd time they've done it. I read.
Oh,
because they play that France game. The Pistons got sent to France a couple years ago.
I guess they've been doing the ones overseas.
The Killian Hayes returns to France game.
Right.
Remember that?
Of course.
Classic.
All right, let's stop talking about Killian Hayes. Pacers Thunder tonight, Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Thunder 5-point favorites on the road. Series currently tied up at 1 apiece.
I have mixed feelings about this Game 3. I've had a good read on the first 2 games. I don't feel as strongly about my Game 3 read on this. If I had to go one direction, it would be Thunder to cover that 5.5. That's not my lock of the day, though.
We'll find out my opinion on this in a later segment. New Suns coach Jordan Ott says he has earned the right to be the head coach of the Suns, despite fan speculation saying that he was hired due to his Michigan State ties. The reason why fans are believing this is because a month ago, the Suns' new general manager, Brian Gregory, was hired, who was an assistant coach at MSU for Matt Ishbia when he played as a Spartan, and now Jordan Ott, who spent time as the video coordinator with the Spartans, has been hired as the head coach.
And his quote was what?
He said that he has earned the right to be the head coach of the Suns, not because of his Michigan State relationship. But Suns fans seem upset about these hires.
But remember, Kyle, there's something very important that you can't forget. That 27 other teams would rather have the Suns roster the way it is built right now.
I think it was 28.
Oh, 28. Yeah, only 2 other teams wouldn't rather have the Suns roster, according to Mr. Matt Ishbia.
Of course, yes. Great spot the Suns are in. They will be trading Kevin Durant soon.
Which is like official now.
Right, it is official, yes. The Los Angeles Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh said Tuesday he had a successful cardiac ablation and hip replacement surgery this offseason. I don't know if you remember the game against Denver earlier this year when he had to leave the game on the sideline. He talked about that moment, but he seems to be doing well after having some surgeries this offseason.
Nothing can tear down Jim Harbaugh, man. You can bring him down. He's going to get back up. You know,
right.
every
he will
day
do anything possible, is what you're saying. Right?
And every day is a new day that you got to just attack. You know, it's the mindset.
He'll do whatever it takes to win.
Anything it takes.
Rules, you know,
anything it takes.
All right, we talked yesterday about how the Knicks were looking to get Jason Kidd. Well, it sounds like Jason Kidd wants to stay in Dallas, and the Mavericks have no interest in letting Kidd leave. They also requested permission to speak to Houston Rockets coach Ime Udoka and Minnesota Timberwolves coach Chris Finch, both of which were declined by the respective teams, because of course they would do that. Why would they just let their coach leave?
Ime Udoka really might be the most underrated coach in the NBA at this point. And like anywhere he goes, there's not a lot of teams that have that good culture. Everywhere he's gone, the team has found that culture somehow and totally outperforms the talent that they have on the team. And you look at that Houston team, they have such a bright future with all the assets that they have and how young they are.
Right.
They may not have the superstar, but they've got the defense. They've got that Amen Thompson. I don't know why he would leave. I don't know why, if you're coaching Anthony Edwards, you would want to leave that to go coach a worse superstar, quote. And Jalen Brunson.
Like, it is the Knicks' job, I get it. East is open, New York, it's cool.
Maybe you're just more likely to be fired.
Right, yeah, I would agree.
A lot
more pressure.
Yeah.
I'd
rather just stick with Anthony Edwards.
They clearly want to get a top dog, though. All right, we'll go through just one more thing here and then save the rest for later. Los Angeles Dodgers manager Dave Roberts said that there is a north of 0 chance that Shohei Ohtani joins the team's rotation before the All-Star break. It sounds like, if not, he'll likely join immediately after as a 2 to 3 inning starter guy to get back into the mix of things.
Isn't it crazy that at the very worst, he's the second best player in baseball right now when he's not pitching?
Right.
And now he's about to start pitching again. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people forgot, like, oh yeah, he's also not only a pitcher, but a very, very good one as well. And the fact that once he starts doing that again, I'm going to start pushing the GOAT conversation even further and further and further.
Like it's not already there.
I already think he is.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people would say that he's the best baseball player ever. Doesn't have the greatest career ever, obviously.
No, but is anyone going to top the career of like a Babe Ruth when there's only like six teams and you can just wrap up the World Series?
As far as best guy to step onto a baseball field, how could you not say it's not Shohei Ohtani?
I'm glad you're on the same page. Anything else? No? Okay. 989-837-6125. Scott Harris. He had some words to say this morning. What did he say about the deadline? What did he say about Sir Tarek Skubal? And what did he say about the chemistry on this team and how they're using that to build for the future? It's all coming up here. Ben Bosscher Show, 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
The Loons returned home to Dow Diamond Tuesday, the first of 12 home games in 13 days here in Midland. The first 6 against the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. Wisconsin would get off to a hot start, leading the entire way, but in the bottom of the 8th, a familiar face, Kyle Nevin, hit his first home run as a Loon in 2025.
2-1. Cracked high in the sky, deep to left field.
carry, ball carry. Kyle Nevin yard. Kyle Nevin returns to Dow Diamond with a 3-run homer in the 8th.
The Loons couldn't rally just enough, however, as they went on to lose 10-3. The Loons will look to bounce back on Wednesday in Game 2 of 6 with Wisconsin. First pitch at 7:05. Our pregame coverage starting at 6:50 right here on Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt.
I'm Sarah Stockford, host of 100.9 The Mitt Success Suite, a podcast highlighting the most inspiring female leaders across the Great Lakes Bay region. This month, we spoke with Mary Draves, former Dow executive and leader in the Midland community.
I think as we get a little bit older, we start to care less about what other people think. That's really a great point, yeah. And so as I've gotten older, I think I've become way more comfortable in who I am, what I stand for. And, when you get to that point, all of a sudden, you become less apologetic about who you are. You also, you're like, hey, this is me, I'm cool with it. Yeah. And I think in my 20s versus maybe I'm in my 50s now, it's a very different person. And that's just really part of the continuum of growth. Yeah.
Listen to the full interview with Lisa on YouTube at 100.9 The Mitt. Subscribe and hit the notification button to be alerted when new episodes drop. That's Success Suite with Sarah Stockford.
Detours driving you bonkers? Ideal Party Store's got your back with the Detour discount. While the Lafayette Bridge is closed, enjoy 10% off select craft beer 6-packs and 10% off 4 bottles of select wine, 750 milliliters or more, with 2 great locations, 908 North Johnson on the east side and 401 Salzburg on the west side. Ideal Party Store makes every detour worth it. Serving Bay City since 1934, we're here to make you the life of the party.
A beautiful yard increases both the value of your home and the quality of your life. Commercially, landscaping creates a positive impression of your professionalism and commitment to community, customers, and employees. Cervinsky Sod has been creating and maintaining outdoor spaces for 56 years. Whether your project is residential or commercial, the team at Cervinsky Sod Services will work with you to build and meet budgets and finish the job with top quality and in a timely manner. To get a quote, call 989-835-4810 or visit CervinskySodService.com.
Another episode takes over Dow Diamond. Star Wars Night with the Great Lakes Loons returns Saturday, June 14th. Immerse yourself in the echoes of the Empire saga throughout the game, culminating with an epic fireworks loontacular presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Tickets are selling fast. Visit loons.com before they're gone.
Thank the maker.
This isn't just baseball. This is the Great Lakes Loons, everyone's hometown team. You want sports takes? You want local voices that own the mic?
Yeah.
We've got it on Sports Radio 100.9 The Mitt. It kicks off at 6 a.m. with Anthony Bellino on Spin on Sports.
Rise and shine.
From 9 to noon, don't miss Michigan's newest sports show, The Ben Bosscher Show.
Hey, remember that.
At noon, you get America's smartest sports takes, The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
I want Shador to play.
And at 3, the one and only Bill Simonson and The Huge Show. This is where real fans stay locked in. 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Welcome back into the Ben Bosscher Show live on YouTube. Hope you guys have subscribed there. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button too on the live stream. It would go a long way. We'd appreciate it for everyone listening in the Great Lakes Bay region. We've got our Mitt messages, 989-837-6125, that you guys can get a hold of us to give your thoughts and opinions on what we are discussing. Right now, we're discussing Scott Harris and some of the comments he made this morning. But before we do that, I'm mostly doing this to remind myself, otherwise I might forget. We're going to give away some Loons tickets later on in the show in the 10 o'clock hour because it's Star Wars Night this Saturday. Night I'm super excited about. It should be our first sellout crowd of the year. One of my favorite nights every single season. So we're going to give some tickets away for our listeners up here in the Great Lakes Bay region later on in the show. If that's all right with you, Kyle.
Winner, chicken dinner.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Okay, so Scott Harris earlier today made an appearance on radio. And there were some big takeaways. I thought yours was very interesting. I'll start out with mine because the two things that Scott Harris said to me that were the most fascinating, one of them had to do with the chemistry of this team. And I thought it was very interesting because it's the same way that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have always talked about building the team in Detroit. They've always said, hey, we're not always looking for the measurables. Like, we're looking for the right fits. We're looking for people that want to come in and work. We're looking for people that are Detroit Lions. Not everyone is. Right? We're not looking for troublemakers. We're not looking for guys who aren't going to give us their 110% effort every single day and work to achieve greatness. That's always been the Lions' mantra. Do you fit the Lions' culture? And that's always been priority number one. There's been some times where I'm like, maybe they put that a little bit ahead of, just drafting sheer talent. But who am I to say that it hasn't worked? I'm not going to say that. And Scott Harris, who doesn't speak nearly as often as Brad Holmes publicly, kind of said something similar today regarding what they're going to do at the deadline. He said the most important thing that we're constantly looking at and researching when thinking about players to add to the clubhouse is, what kind of guy are they? What kind of teammate are they? Are they going to disrupt the chemistry in the clubhouse? Because that's what seems to be so special right now. And that's not just me saying that. That's what Scott Harris had to say earlier this morning, the president of baseball operations, essentially the GM of the Tigers. The fact that they're so focused on the chemistry and the culture of this team, I thought the parallel between them and the Lions, and the Pistons for that matter, was fascinating, because you have all these Detroit teams that have put skill in the passenger seat, talent in the passenger seat. And the number one thing that all these teams are focusing on is the chemistry, is the culture, is the work ethic. And it's working for every single one of the teams. The Lions just went 15-2. I get it. Didn't have the postseason success you wanted, but success nonetheless. The Tigers are 20 games above 500 with the best record in baseball. The Pistons went from having, 13 wins to having to going into the playoffs and going to New York and beating a team which seemed improbable 6 months prior to that. All these teams have built their teams based on the same priorities, and it's coming to fruition and paying off now in year 3 of the Tigers rebuild, in year 4 of year 5, 4.5 of the Lions rebuild, and the Pistons, felt like have been in a rebuild for about a decade, but Trajan Langdon, this is only going to be his second season, so I guess you could say in year 1, really, you saw the payoff, shout out RIP, for these teams. I thought the parallel was fascinating, and that was my number one takeaway from what Scott Harris had to say this morning.
Well, and I think the correlation is cool to talk about because of how much the teams that have embraced each other, too. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times, they'll compare their stretch, or at least how they're growing, to the other teams, right? We've heard multiple times talk about Trajan Landing, talk about the Lions, or Scott Harris even talking about the Lions. So it's pretty cool that they match the identity of the city and the other sports teams as well. So yeah, I agree. And he talked about it down to the minor league level as well. Like, those guys fit, they seem to fit the upcoming culture, which is cool. My biggest takeaway, though, was a different perspective. Talking about the Tarek Skubal contract extension, because obviously that's been on all Tigers' minds. And every time that Tarek Skubal takes the mound, you think about it more and more, and his dollar sign goes up. When asked about, where you at with the Tarek Skubal extension, by the way he's been playing, he said, I'm really proud that he's a Tiger right now. And he kind of just said it as a part of a full sentence. It wasn't like he really threw out the right now. But adding in the right now, it kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
I won't lie.
I feel like Tigers fans are well aware who owns this team and what the other competition is going to be once Tarek Skubal is an unrestricted free agent. And obviously Scott Harris cannot just openly say, here's what the updates are on Tarek Skubal. Like, he made that very clear. But you can at least say, we want Tarek Skubal to be here long term. We never heard that. He just said, I'm proud of him being a Tiger right now.
You could have just said, I'm proud of him being a Tiger.
End of sentence. No need to
Why is the
continue.
right now thrown in?
Because I think he's just as well aware of all the fans that this is going to be tough. It's not a layup that this guy's going to be a Tiger 2 years from now, right? And that's kind of the unfortunate reality about it. I'll freak out. You'll freak out. Every other Tigers fan.
Will we? Because we know what's going to happen.
I'll tie myself to Comerica Park with a handcuff and light myself on fire if they let Tarek Skubal walk. Like, there's no circumstance where they shouldn't cough up the money. Because here's what, I've had conversations with people the last couple of weeks where it's like, yeah, but the Tigers can't afford to pay him. I'm sorry. Is Chris Ilitch not one of the 10 highest, richest owners in baseball? No. He is. He's worth billions of dollars. The Tigers can afford to pay anybody they want. This is a game of choice. There's a choice whether or not you want to be with the big dogs like the Yankees and the Dodgers and San Fran and the Padres, or you want to be a middle market team who builds through the farm system, which I'm not saying is the wrong way to do things, because ever since Scott Harris has done there, look at that. They do have the number one farm system in baseball. But here's the thing that no one seems to understand. You can also do both of those things. The Tigers can afford to give Tarek Skubal a contract extension. It's just a matter of whether or not they want to. And obviously, every Tigers fan wants them to do that. I'm sure Scott Harris wants to give him a contract extension, but Scott Harris is just as well aware of the situation as we are. It's far from a layup. This is going to be a difficult thing to pull off. A, considering who his agent is, who Tarek Skubal's agent is, and Scott Boras. And B, considering the Yankees are going to call the phone and give Tarek Skubal as much money as he's possibly dreamed of, right? The Dodgers will do the same thing. It's just a matter of, is Scott Harris going to get the thumbs up and stamp of approval from Chris Ilitch? Am I confident that's going to happen? Not exactly. I'm more confident now than I was 6 months ago when it was like, yeah, we don't really know what this Tiger... Really? Because I feel like the winning is going to put enough internal pressure on Chris Ilitch to where, like, he's going to have some people down his throat, like unforgivable sin.
True.
If they're not able to, like, I think we did this a couple weeks ago.
But he's worth more now than he was a year ago.
For sure. But, like, dude, I'm just going to be honest with you. If they're unable to pay Tarek Skubal and they just let him walk for nothing, like, I don't know if I can, like, still be that diehard Tigers fan that roots from me being a kid and watching this team. Like, all that love for this team has stemmed from, the Miguel Cabrera years and the fact that, hey, Victor Martinez is hurt for the season. Oh, let's go get Prince Fielder, highest paid guy in free agency that year. All that stems from being a kid and seeing their aggression towards trying to win and winning being the number one priority. And winning has been far from the number one priority for Chris Ilitch ever since he's inherited this team. They actually just refuse to spend in that aspect. And spending doesn't always result in winning, but at the same time, of the last decade, 9 of the 10 World Series winners have been a top 10 spending team, and the team that wasn't, 2021 Atlanta, was 11th. So you basically have to be a top 10 spending team, and the Tigers are still about 17th in terms of total spending.
Especially with Skubal wanting to be here long term,
yes,
and how much he means to the city. He also made a media appearance this morning and said he wants to be a Tiger for life.
Yep.
He didn't shy away from that.
And I promise you this, too. He may want to be a Tiger for life. Don't hit me with that means they're getting him on a discount. That's not how that works.
Why should they?
No, that's like a couple years back when it's like, oh, Jared Goff's going to take a discount because no, he's not. Nope. He became one of the 5 highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. Nobody just takes discounts. Nobody does that. The only example of that happening in pro sports is like Tom Brady's, where you're making so much money off the field, it doesn't even matter what you're making on the field. And you have all the Super Bowls and it doesn't matter.
And even that seems rare nowadays.
Yeah. Like LeBron, I guess, could do that, and I wouldn't be surprised. But nobody just takes pay cuts.
We saw Brunson in the NBA, and that's the only one we've really seen in the NBA in a long time.
But did Brunson take a pay cut, or didn't he get a?
He just got paid less than he could have gotten paid, I guess.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Okay. 989-837-6125. We want to get to some of your comments. We want to get to some of the Mitt messages here coming up. And in the 10 o'clock hour to start things out, I want to play a game called I Wouldn't Be Surprised If. Plus, it's Wednesday, which means, Kyle and I try to show some personality. Kyle and I try to, give a little peek behind the curtain. What are we like when we're not sitting here talking about sports? What you watching all coming up too? It's the Ben Bosscher Show, 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
Parents, summer is almost here. Do you have a plan? Keep your kids active, engaged, and having a blast at Greater Midland Summer Camps. Every day is a new adventure filled with games, sports, creative activities, and new friendships.
field sweeping the mitten. Michigan ranks 5th in the nation in the number of breweries, microbreweries, and brew pubs. From Good Harbor Golden to Whitefish Bay Wheat. From Motown Lager all the way to Park Bench Porter, Michigan is serving up a frosty glass of perfection. Whether you want to take in a game with a two-hearted ale or just sit on a front porch sipping a Steelhead Red, let's tap into life at its fullest and treat ourselves to a taste that's pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
All right, welcome back into the Ben Bosscher Show. Happy Wednesday to everyone. We're doing our Big Win Wednesday giveaway in the 10 o'clock hour, which will be Loons tickets for Star Wars Night this Saturday. Look, they're making me do some acting this year. I guess I've done that the past couple of years for Star Wars Night. I'm excited about it. Get to show off those acting skills that I've been working on for so long. Yeah.
And you're dressing up Friday too, right? It's a busy week.
No, you can't be spreading that. I don't think I can. I don't know if I can put that costume on. I think that might
Star
cause
Wars
some
Night's
problems.
going to be sick, though.
Yeah, I'm excited for Star Wars Night. So that giveaway's in the 10 o'clock hour. We'll get to some messages now because we've been talking Chris Ilitch and we've been talking Brad Holmes, whether or not he's going to be able to pay Aidan Hutchinson prior to the Steelers paying TJ Watt. And then on the Tigers half of things, Sky Harris spoke this morning, and not great signs about Derek Skubal. And I thought the chemistry building was an interesting touch. So looking at the YouTube chat, Brad Holmes has failed us when it comes to paying Hutch and now finding Hutch a legit edge to help him. Brad is acting like Chris Ilitch when it comes to paying Hutch. Sheila Hamp needs to pay him now. I don't know if that's how that works. It's definitely not how that works. The owner doesn't have the impact that the owners have in baseball, in football, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but in like a weird way. They have more power, though, it seems like, in the NFL.
Do they?
As far as how the league is run, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. They have more say in the direction of the league, for sure.
Right.
But in terms of the actual impact, I don't think so. P.S. Ben, we don't ever want Bregman after he burned us this offseason. Are you insane for still having a Bregman crush? We won't get Paul Skeens, so forget it. You're not the GM. And all of us fans are happy you're not. You know what? I'm honestly happy I'm not the GM too, man. That sounds like a hard job.
Why is Alex Bregman being brought up in the chat? Did they think when we said Brunson, we meant Bregman?
I don't know, but I'd still gladly trade for Alex Bregman.
I would too. The Red Sox are starting to fall off. They clearly haven't, not the season that they've been wanting.
And the Tigers clearly like Alex Bregman, right?
And he probably liked the idea of coming to Detroit.
Yeah, he's pretty open about that. I just love when people are like, I'm so glad you're not the GM. Me too. I'd much rather sit here and be the GM with no consequences doing a show, doing it. Okay, so Wednesday, I don't know if I'd call this a tradition quite yet because we've only done it once. But it's Wednesday, so I just had a question, Kyle. What have you been watching lately? Because I saw the trailer for 28 years later, and I was like, this is so good. This looks fascinating. It comes out next week. And
I was just going to ask, when's that coming out? It looks pretty good.
Next week. I didn't even realize this is the third movie in a trilogy. There was 28 days later, and then there was 28 weeks later, which...
This is news to me.
And then there's this movie, which has none of the same actors, not on the same... it's the same timeline, but like you don't have to see the first two to connect it, as far as I understand, if that makes sense. Like a whole new cast, different group of people.
Well, that would make sense. It's just 28 years later.
Correct. But I'm such a sucker for any apocalyptic type of movies and shows, and this one looked fascinating. So that is what I guess I'm not watching anything at the moment, but that is what I'm looking forward to be watching.
Then, right?
Yeah, I just realistically don't think I'm going to have the time to do that here with Loons games and Tigers games, basically consuming my life every day for the next 13 days. But I'm excited to go see the new one. I will definitely be going to the theater, solo, of course, to go try to see this 28 days later. As soon as it comes out, there's a lot of good stuff coming out this summer.
Yeah, there is.
You watching anything?
So last week when we talked about this, I watched the first Accountant movie in preparation to watch The Accountant 2. And I actually watched The Accountant 2 Monday night because we didn't have any Tigers on, and I didn't really know what to watch. And the NHL game was a blowout. So I watched The Accountant 2. I will say, not as good as the first Accountant movie, but the first Accountant movie is really good. So, fair. It was a solid sequel, but definitely worse.
Logan in the chat says July is a good month for movies coming out, too. Jurassic World, Superman, Fantastic Four. I would rank those in terms of excitement. Superman, Fantastic Four, Jurassic World. I'm not a huge Jurassic World guy. I'm not. You?
I never really got into those movies either.
They're
honestly.
fine. Like, I don't dislike them, but I don't think I've seen all of them. I think I've seen bits and pieces of most of them, but I'm not like a diehard. They just keep remaking them with like whole new casts. And I'm like, at some point we got to just put these to bed. We can't just keep making dinosaur movies.
But people, there's clear audience for it. Logan's excited about it, right?
Logan's excited about it. Ian said Accountant is a fantastic film. I've never seen this. Maybe I got to watch that.
It's pretty good. Joe Mazzulla, you know how he's talked about the movie The Town, how he watched it like twice a week during basketball season?
Sicko.
Well, Ben Affleck, who's also in both movies, he said that The Accountant is right up there with movies he's watched like a billion times.
Jared said, "How is this news to you?" In all caps. 28 Days Later is a top 10 horror movie of all time. I didn't get the vibe it was horror. The 28 Years one. It kind of felt like a thriller more so, which I love the thrillers.
I didn't know this. Cillian Murphy's in it too. Man, how did I not know this?
Yeah. I'm very excited.
Now I really got to check it out.
All right, there'll be a follow-up to that conversation next Wednesday for What You Watchin'. All right, coming up next, I wouldn't be surprised if ... Ben Bosscher Show, live on YouTube, 100.9 The Mitt.
The Ben Bosscher Show, powered by the Forward Corporation on 100.9 The Mitt.
I'm Sarah Stockford, host of 100.9 The Mitt's Success Suite, a podcast highlighting the most inspiring female leaders across the Great Lakes Bay region. This month, we spoke with Mary Draves, former Dow executive and leader in the Midland community.
I think as we get a little bit older, we start to care less about what other people think. That's really a great point, yeah. And so as I've gotten older, I think I've become way more comfortable in who I am and what I stand for. And, when you get to that point, all of a sudden, you become less apologetic about who you are. You also, you're like, hey, this is me, I'm cool with it. Yeah. And I think in my 20s versus maybe I'm in my 50s now, it's a very different person. And that's just really part of the continuum of growth. Yeah.
Listen to the full interview with Lisa on YouTube at 100.9 The Mitt. Subscribe and hit the notification button to be alerted when new episodes drop. That's Success Suite with Sarah Stockford.
You have better things to do than to job hunt or scramble to find your next great hire. So let Spherion do it. We say local is our superpower because we live and work where you live and work. We know the local job market. We're here in person. And we're locally owned, so you won't find a partner who's more engaged and literally invested in your success. If you're ready for something better, start with Spherion. Visit us online at Spherion.com to find your local Spherion office. Let's get to work.
Experience world-class golf and family fun at the Dow Championship. Returning to Midland Country Club June 23rd to the 29th. Come and see top LPGA professionals compete in the only team-based event on the tour. Explore interactive fan experiences, family-friendly activities, and delicious local food vendors. Plus, veterans and children under 17 get in free. Don't miss out. Visit DowChampionship.com today for more information.
When the summer heat is on, keep your cool with Answer Heating and Cooling. Our expert team specializes in fast, reliable air conditioning repairs, installations, and maintenance. Stay comfortable all season long with top-notch cooling solutions and simply outstanding service. Plus, with financing options and special rebates, cooling your home has never been more affordable. Answer Heating and Cooling, where comfort is our priority. Try our new schedule online option or call us today.